It's our desire to help you, and we will accomplish it for sure together today, help you to feel the freshness and newness of who you are, and help you to find ways to focus, to allow those fresh ideas to evolve. It's like putting a kernel of corn in the ground and having the knowledge, because you have farmers in your history, that you know that it's going to mature and that it's going to do its natural thing, and that in a little while, if tended to, you're going to see some green stuff come up out of the ground that is going to get bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger and surer and surer, and it's going to produce those ears of corn that in time you will be able to pluck and eat. And because you understand the process, you are willing to allow the natural process. You don't expect that thing to turn to a full bin of ears of corn instantaneously. You are willing to allow the gestation process, and you are willing to allow those vibrations to turn into meaningful manifestations. And less patient humans might go out the next day. Abraham, you said, I'm the creator of my own reality, and I want corn, and where isn't, stomping around on the ground, and then just dig it up and eat it. Not what I had in mind, you say. And so we want to ask you something that's a little paradoxical. We want to ask you to be patient at the same time that we say to you, in alignment, you don't need patience. Because when you're in alignment, you understand the process, and more important, you enjoy the evolving process, because every stage of its evolution along the way is satisfying to you. It's the old adage that so many of you are annoyed with: the joy is in the journey. The joy is in the journey. And you say, I'll put up with this sappy, happy journey as long as I get what I want. And we say, when getting what you want that you don't have right now is what is of paramount importance to you, then you're not joyful in your journey. Then you're not in an allowing state. Then you're not allowing it to evolve. And then you're not seeing the evolution of it. You're not getting to witness it unfolding. So as we talk about thoughts turning to things, we're talking about vibrations being received by you in thought form. We're talking about you receiving a thought that was a vibration, but we're talking about you positioning yourself vibrationally, which means by being happy through meditation or appreciation or however you've found your way to be there, you translating that vibration into a thought and being consciously aware that that thought came to you because you were in the receiving mode. The receiving mode is the most important thing that we want to convey to you and that we want you to take away from this gathering. Step one is you ask. You do that all day, every day. You can't stop it. Step two is source answers. That just happens. That's not your work. But step three is the receiving mode. Step three is you get into the allowing mode, which means step three is you find a way to think about what you want in a way that doesn't feel bad. That's a screwy way of saying it. Better way of saying it is you find a way to think about this missing thing in a way that feels good. Now we're just toying with you. You find a way of accepting the absence of your lover and all the money that you want, and you still feel good. And you say, oh, now we get your shtick, Abraham. You're like all the other religions. Your reward is in heaven. Wait for it then. But we're not asking you to wait until you have reemerged into non-physical. We're saying to you that as you find vibrational alignment, which means you find thoughts that feel good about the things you want, even though they haven't manifested, we're saying to you, if you can reach the place where you don't need the manifestation in order to feel good, then it will come, and it will come quickly. But if you need the manifestation, which you don't have, and in your need for the manifestation you also have awareness that it isn't, then in your awareness that it isn't, you offer so much vibration about the isn't-ness of it that you don't allow the isness of it. And then even though it is progressing, you miss all the clues because you're on a different radio frequency. Just like you can't set your radio dial on 101 AM and hear what's being broadcast on 97 FM. The frequencies must match up. So the frequency of what you want is a joyful feeling frequency. And that word feeling is really the key, because you sort of kind of think that you know how to sort out the stuff that's already been manifested. You can put it in piles of beautiful or not beautiful, or good or bad. You do that all the time as humans. You're sorting out the piles of manifestation and squabbling over them, even though it's old news. It's like gum that all the flavor's been chewed out of. It's the old stuff, you see, where what you're wanting to do is focus in a way that you keep yourself sharp and therefore in the discovery stage of the new things that are happening. Because thoughts turning to things sounds really nebulous. We talked to you about this vibrational world, and we want you to tune into the vibrational world, and it can kind of sound hard to you if you are not accustomed to tuning to vibrations in a way that are meaningful to you. So here's really what we mean. For example, Esther meditates. She found a way to meditate. She found a way to quiet her mind, and when she does, she feels good. We've enjoyed this interaction immensely. She feels good. She's free of resistance. In order to meditate, her mind must be quiet, and her mind does not want to be quiet. Her mind wants to think about this and that and this and that, what somebody said yesterday and what they really meant by it, and what happened over there and what's going on at the office and why that person cut her off in traffic. Her mind wants to think about some of the things that are going on. Her mind wants to think, because there are momentum in many thoughts, about things that would hold her in resistance to being in the receiving mode. So every day for 15 or 20 minutes, we've convinced her to sit and quiet her mind. And when she quiets her mind, what happens is she allows the vibrational frequency of her physical body to rise to the level of that of us. Now, that's the most important thing that you will ever hear us say. If you are going to be in the receiving mode, and you want to be in the receiving mode, because that's where all the good insights are. If you are going to be in the receiving mode, when you are in the receiving mode, to be in the receiving mode, what being in the receiving mode means is you are at the same frequency of your inner being, which means you can't hate someone and be in the same frequency with your inner being, because your inner being is not going to join you in that hatred. You can't be down on yourself or down on someone else, because your inner being isn't. So the receiving mode means vibrational equivalency to your inner being. That's what the receiving mode means. Well, you don't just go there easily sometimes, because you've practiced thoughts since you're pioneers out here on the leading edge. You've practiced thoughts that take you away from that receiving mode. You've practiced a lot of thoughts that are really step one thoughts. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. We just want you to know the difference between a step one thought and a step three thought. The step one thought is full of resistance, and the step three thought has no resistance within it. So the receiving mode is the equivalency to your inner being, and meditation or appreciation will get you there quickly. So Esther sat to meditate again, and she quieted her mind, which meant she had no thought, and she was experiencing feelings of bliss and some movement. In other words, we were projecting our intention for motion in her body, and she was in what would appear to be at an unconscious state, just translating the movement and enjoying the sensation of the movement. Just soft, gentle movement, mostly in her neck and head, some in her back, muscles in her arms. In other words, we were moving her physical apparatus, and she was enjoying the process of it. And after about 15 minutes of that kind of quieted mind, it was nearly time for her timer to go off. She sets it for 20 and usually comes out of meditation somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes. And so as she was just about to come out of meditation, a thought occurred to her. A very powerful and wonderful feeling thought. Not the kind of thought that you would expect from a spiritual leader. She thought, I would really like to move the furniture around in this room. Now, this is what we want you to understand. These thoughts of connection with your source are going to lead you to inspired experience about things that matter to you. And so that thought felt so good to her that when she came out of meditation, she could hardly wait to begin the process of it. So she had a few things that she intended to do that day, but the first thing she did was get on the internet and find some people who could come and help her move furniture. And it was really, really fun. There were a lot of them. And she zeroed in on 2 men in a truck, and she called them and she said, I would like 2 men to come. I don't need their truck unless they need their truck to get here, but I just need 2 men to come because I'm not going to move anything away from my house. I just want to move some things around in the house. Now, here's what we want you to understand about this. Before that day of that meditation where she got that thought, the day before that, when she came out of meditation, she had an idea. Oh, I think I will try to understand the music system in this house. Now, this is a house that she and Jerry have purchased a long, long time ago. And Jerry understood the musical system in this house. He was always the one that set the music into the gardens and so forth. Esther didn't really know what was going on with it. It was just something that he always did, and she did not know what buttons made what happen. It's not exactly an intuitive system. It's a very convoluted system. But she came out of meditation thinking, I'll bet I can make this music go. And the thought was so powerful. This was the day before the 2 men in a truck day. This was the great idea from God that came out of meditation that day. So she sat, fiddled with buttons, discovered that she could make music play in the courtyards and in the gardens and in every room in the house. She discovered how she could make it loud. She discovered how she could find any music genre imaginable. And so she sat there for quite a bit of time that day and played a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And she discovered a station that thrilled her. She had not listened to it before. It was rap. So interesting what they had to say. And so interesting the way they said it. And so interesting the way the rhythm called for it. It was intoxicating to her. She was mesmerized by it and found herself wanting to write some rap. So now it's the next day, and now her interest is in moving furniture, and she's called 2 men in a truck. And so that afternoon 2 men showed up, and they were delightful, and they moved this over there and this over there and that 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 over there, that over there, and then they moved that back and that back and that back and that back. It was really fun to see how things looked in different places, and much of it returned to where it had been, but it was really a lot of fun moving these things around, as human beings like to do. And so then, in the process of all this fun, these young boys are wanting to know what Esther does. She has nice things, and she has a lot of them, but mostly what they noticed is how playful she was and how silly she is and how interesting it was to watch someone just move things around for the fun of it. Just for the fun of it. And so one of them said to her, it's a beautiful day. And Esther said, it really is. And he said, but I'm leaving. And Esther said, where are you going? And he said, I'm going back to Alabama. And Esther said, why? And he said, because I'm a rapper, and because I have some things that are happening back there that I can't seem to get to happen out here. So I'm going to go to where my rap is happening. And Esther said, hold on a minute. So she goes into the other room, pushes some buttons, and all of a sudden, rap. Famous rap. All through the gardens, all through the rooms, all through the everywhere, loud. The neighbors can hear it. Everyone can hear it. And his eyes are very, very big. And he says, what do you do? And Esther said, I'm a teacher. And he said, what do you teach? And Esther said, rap. And then she said, no. She says, really, it's relatively new to me, like yesterday. But now they have this experience going, and now he's expressing his desires, his hopes, his wishes. And Esther's got a cabinet full of books that explain all of that. And so now they have this relationship. Now she's signing books for him. Now she's handing CDs to him. Now he's on top of the world. In fact, she got a text from him yesterday.